In 1 Chronicles 24 to 27, the organizational structure of Israel takes center stage. Join us for a tale of priestly divisions, military arrangements, and administrative details, providing a glimpse into the intricate governance and societal order during the reign of King David. I rejoice to have you again, dear people of God. In our last study of 1 Chronicles, we delve into David's intense desire to build a temple, a project denied by God. The narrative highlighted God's perspective, emphasizing that without a right relationship with Him, material pursuits like urban development and poverty programs remained tainted by corruption. Drawing parallels to contemporary issues, the text critiqued the modern emphasis on material solutions without addressing the core problem of humanity's relationship with God. Returning to David's preparations for the temple, the narrative revealed his deep concern for Solomon, the designated builder. David's instructions to Solomon underscored the importance of seeking wisdom, understanding, and adherence to God's law. The focus then shifted to the organization of the Levites for temple service, symbolizing a transition from the tabernacle. The text urged adaptability to God's unchanging plans, cautioning against preserving outdated practices. Overall, the passage highlighted David's fervent pursuit of a spiritual goal, contrasted it with the contemporary challenges, and advocated for a purposeful life centered on God.
Now let's read 1 Chronicles chapter 24, verses 1 and 2. Now these are the divisions of the sons of Aaron. The sons of Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died before their father and had no children. Therefore Eleazar and Ithamar executed the priest's office. Aaron's sons were priests, and this record takes us back to the time they were in the wilderness. The 10th chapter of Leviticus records the sin of Nadab and Abihu and their resulting death. Now verse 3 of 1 Chronicles chapter 24. And David distributed them, both Zadok of the sons of Eleazar and Ahimelech of the sons of Ithamar, according to their offices in their service. This is a very highly organized procedure that David is putting into force. David not only bought the property where the temple is to stand, he gathered the building materials, and now he organizes the priests to serve. There were 24 orders. The sons were organized into orders. Let's read verse 5. Thus were they divided by lot, one sort with another, for the governors of the sanctuary and governors of the house of God were of the sons of Eleazar and of the sons of Ithamar. One group would come and do their work under the direction of one of the sons. Then, later on, another group under the direction of another son would come and replace them. Imagine that when the Levites changed shifts for temple service, it was done with precision and order. The families of the Levites had grown so much in number that it would be impossible for all of them to serve all at once. As we have seen, from the time of Moses to the time of David, the Levites had increased from about 8,000 to 38,000. For this reason, David divides them into orders. In the next section, the sons of Kohath are divided, and following them the sons of Merari are divided. David planned that each family would carry on the service of the temple. Now in chapter 25, we find that David organized the singers in the same way. 1 Chronicles chapter 25 verses 1 and 2. Moreover, David and the captains of the host separated to the service of the sons of Asaph and of Heman and of Jeduthun, who should prophesy with harps, with psalteries, and with cymbals, and the number of the workmen according to their service was. Of the sons of Asaph, Zakur and Joseph and Nathaniah and Asarellah, the sons of Asaph under the hands of Asaph, which prophesied according to the order of the king. All of this was organized even before the temple was built. You will find in the marvelous 68th Psalm a song of David, Psalm 68, verses 28 and 29. Summon your power, O God. Show us your strength, O God, as you have done before. Because of your temple at Jerusalem, kings will bring you gifts. David is anticipating the time the temple will stand in Jerusalem as a testimony to the world. Long before the temple was built, the singers were gathering in Jerusalem to worship God. And this is one of the songs they sang. You see, David had brought up the ark to Jerusalem, and it was kept in a tent. Also, there was an altar there on the threshing floor of Araunah, where David, as you recall, had offered sacrifices, burnt sacrifices, and peace offerings unto God. Let's read verses 7 and 8 of 1 Chronicles chapter 25. Along with their relatives, all of them trained and skilled in music for the Lord. They numbered 288, young and old alike, teacher as well as student, cast lots for their duties. They were divided by lot into 24 groups. This would mean that twice each month there would be a change in the service. Each of these would serve only 2 weeks out of the year. Then they would go back to the city from which they had come from, and there was service for them to perform in their own hometowns. These priests and Levites served as instructors, and in many other ways throughout the land of Israel. I believe all this organization was one of the greatest feats of David's reign. It is the thing which God noted and recorded here. I hope that each one of us would recognize the importance of people before structures and monuments come up. Listen, and I'm sure you would have understood the importance David is giving to people. He is organizing them even before the temple is built. Observe now, there were porters appointed to attend the temple, who guarded all the ways that led into it. They opened and shut all the outer gates and attended at them, not only for the state but for the service, to direct and instruct those who were going to worship in the courts of the sanctuary. In the decorum they were to observe. They were to encourage those who were timid, to send back the strangers and those who were unclean, and to guard against thieves and others who were enemies to the house of God. Not only are the priests organized, there are others as well. Well, who's going to sweep the place? Who's going to guard it? Even that is organized. In chapter 26, we see that David had all of this carefully planned. 1 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 1. The divisions of the gatekeepers. From the Korahites, Meshelemiah, son of Korah, one of the sons of Asaph. They were divided in much the same way. And while all these people are serving, there will be need to be someone on guard duty. There will be guards placed to watch the gates, and they will have to be on duty 24 hours a day. Verse 13 of chapter 26. Lots were cast for each gate according to their families, young and old alike. Every gate was covered by guards. Now let's find out what happens about the treasurers. Even treasurers appointed. They will have to have a treasurer to keep track of the finances for the temple. He will have to make his report. Let's read verse 20. Their fellow Levites were in charge of the treasuries of the house of God and the treasuries for the dedicated things. The treasurers were responsible for the vast store of dedicated things which had been accumulating. Now let's read verses 26 to 28 of chapter 26 of 1 Chronicles. Shelomith and his relatives were in charge of all the treasuries for the things dedicated by King David, by the heads of families who were the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and by the other army commanders. Some of the plunder taken in battle they dedicated for the repair of the temple of the Lord, and everything dedicated by Samuel the seer, and by Saul son of Kish, Abner son of Ner, and Joab son of Zeruiah. And all the other dedicated things were in the care of Shelomith and his relatives. These treasures had treasurers, those that were over them. Their business was to keep them safe, where neither moth nor rust would corrupt them, nor thieves break through and steal, to give out as there was occasion, and to see that they were not wasted or alienated to the common use. And it is probable that they kept accounts of all that was brought in and how it was laid out. Now it's the officers and judges who are appointed. The Levites were to be the judges, you see. They also were to act in official capacities in many ways. It was God's original purpose that Israel be a theocracy with Him ruling and with the tabernacle in the center of the community, and with the priesthood getting the decisions from God Himself. This changed because of the failure of the Levites. So God raised up judges. Then we saw the failure of the judges, and the people demanded a king. This is the reason David is now on the throne. Although Israel is now a monarchy, David is certainly putting great emphasis upon bringing it back under God's control. Verse 1 of chapter 27. This is the list of the Israelites, heads of families, commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and their officers who served the king in all that concerned the army divisions that were on duty month by month throughout the year. Each division consisted of 24,000 men. 12 captains were appointed, each man serving 1 month of the year over a course of 24,000. 1 Chronicles chapter 27 verse 16. The officers over the tribes of Israel, over the Reubenites, Eleazar son of Zikri, over the Simeonites, Shephatiah son of Maacah. And it goes on and on, 1 man from each of the 12 tribes, so that there were 12 princes of the tribes of Israel. Now notice this verse. Verse 23 of 1 Chronicles chapter 27. David did not take the number of the men 20 years old or less, because the Lord had promised to make Israel as numerous as the stars in the sky. David took the census before because he didn't believe God. It was an act of unbelief. God told him, "Trust me. I'll supply all the men you need for your army." Now David does not take a census. He rests upon God's promise. Chapter 27 concludes with a list of officers which are in charge of King David's personal properties. We have here an account of the regulation of the military of the kingdom. David himself was a man of war and had done plenty of great things with the sword. He had brought into the field great armies. Now here we are told how he marshaled them together when God had given him rest from all his enemies. He did not keep them all together, for that would have been a hardship on them and the country. Yet he did not disband and disperse them all, for then he would have left his kingdom prone to attack, and his people would have forgotten the arts of war, where they had been instructed. He therefore thought of a plan to keep up a constant force, and yet not a standing army. The model is certainly very prudent. I'm sure you would have been impressed by the way David has been able to organize his whole kingdom. At one stage, he was just looking after sheep. Sheep in the pastures. And he would have been a man used to being behind the scenes, neglected, not even considered as part of his family when Samuel actually came to anoint him. But right now, you can see him as one who is in control, making sure that his whole kingdom is organized. Even before the temple was built, he has ensured that there are people who are overseeing the treasury. There are people who are appointed to sing, musicians. Yes, he has them all organized. Yes, dear friend, I hope that we have recognized the need for people. How often do we recognize people who are behind the scenes? People who are serving in the background? It's because of their service that we have safety. How often do we take time to thank them and recognize their services? Here is David ensuring that all those who are serving in the temple were mentioned by name. Wouldn't it be a great opportunity to get to the heavens and then recognize some of these individuals who were part of his kingdom, serving probably as gatekeepers? David himself felt the need that he would rather be a doorkeeper than to be away. He had an earnest desire to be within the house of God. Dear friend, do you have that desire to serve in his kingdom? To serve wholeheartedly, whatever the task, to ensure that the kingdom be established? Yes, God can use any one of us. Just as God used a young shepherd boy to bring about such a significant change in the kingdom of Israel, how much more God can use you. He can use you to accomplish great things for His glory, for His purpose. Are you available? Yes, make yourself available, and I'm sure God can transform you. Yes, your heart, when it is in tune with God, God can enable you and change you and transform you to make significant changes, to be a great influence in His kingdom.
Martin J. Salmond makes the following observations on why the chronicler purposefully emphasizes the significance of the Levites. Firstly, the chronicler portrays David as a parallel to Moses, both pivotal in shaping Israel's worship. David's enduring modifications compared to Moses' initial organization underscores his lasting impact on generations. Secondly, the chronicler details the unique contributions of each Levitical group to temple worship, anticipating the future temple's construction and emphasizing the integral role of the Levites. Thirdly, the chronicler's emphasis on the Levites aligns with Nehemiah's reforms, highlighting a shared commitment to their worship role. Both likely aimed for a renewed centrality of the Levites in serving God. In the New Testament, Levites are seldom mentioned, emphasizing the broader understanding that service to God extends beyond physical structures. Chapter 23 introduces David's meticulous organization of the Levites, emphasizing their dual function, assisting priests and the supervising God's house. The key term, service, encapsulates their religious tasks, linking practical responsibilities with the spiritual essence of worship. The Levites derive their true value from dedicated service, encompassing both work and worship in the house of the Lord. May God bless you.